Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another episode here at the Debate Circle. We are in the final round for the senior category in the Nyanza region, and we cannot wait to crown the championship title in this particular region. The motion of dissection reads, incentivizing recycling and promoting biodegradable alternatives is a more effective solution than outright burning of single-use plastic bags in Kenya. I'll read the motion of dissection again. Incentivizing recycling and promoting biodegradable alternatives is a more effective solution than outright burning of single-use plastic bags in Kenya. Proposing and opposing this motion is Maranda School versus Nyambaria High School. All the best to both teams. Team proposition first speaker, you have 3 minutes.
Esteemed ladies and gentlemen, lads and lasses, once more, I acknowledge this opportunity that you've given unto me to put you on another level of know-how by affirming with the motion that incentivizing recycling and promoting biodegradable alternatives is a more effective solution than outright banning of single-use plastic bags in Kenya. My name is Stefan Denzel. Now, incentivizing recycling simply means the policies and measures that we put in recycling waste so that they can have financial benefits to the users. Promoting biodegradable alternatives means promoting use and production of materials that are harmful to the environment when they decompose. And single-use plastic bags simply implies the use of plastic bags that are intended to be used once and then discarded. I mean, it's pretty evident. It costs savings. Recycling reduces the need for raw materials. Take, for example, the American Chemistry Council, 2024, in their report just recently. They argued that the US economy had saved up to $6.4 billion annually in the cost of materials. Then you wonder why such countries are doing well. Look, it has lowered production. It has lowered production costs because when you recycle the raw materials, you no longer need to have the raw materials. This one has lowered the production costs. I think you can ponder on that. I think Kenya can move a step forward. We don't need to be putting more and more garbage. Just, we still have a pile of garbage. Isn't that a health hazard? Of course it is. Let's move to job creation. Recycling and manufacturing biodegradable alternatives has created new job opportunities. It's crystal clear that in Kenya, we have had a higher percentage, especially of the Kenyan youths, people going to universities, people graduate, but when they come, they're just there. It's like they're rocking in a deep well. It's like they've dipped down themselves in the silt and mud, just wondering what their fate will be. So I do believe that when we introduce incentivizing recycling and promoting biodegradable alternatives, we will be able to curb the problem of unemployment. Take, for example, in South Africa, recycling industries has employed over 58,000 people. If this could have been in Kenya, I'm pretty sure that the percentage rate of unemployment, which now stands at about 43%, would have reduced to 10%. Am I right? Sure, you do agree. Now, this is according to the South African Plastic Regulatory Organization done in 2017. With that, ponder on that. I don't see why you come here insisting with that heated passion of rebellion that we should not encourage recycling. Oh my, thank you.
When the lion lolls, the jungle is alert. Jonathan Mosemokua from the Great Nyambaria School. Here to oppose the motion, incentivizing recycling and promoting biodegradable alternative is not the most effective solution than outright banning a single use of plastic bags in Kenya. First, my friend did not make us understand what the motion is talking about. Before I inject facts on you, I'd like you to ponder with this definition so that you may understand the topic better. 1, incentivizing is motivating or encouraging someone to do something. 2, recycling is the action of converting waste into reusable materials. What about promoting? Is to support actively and encourage. What about the biodegradable? Is the capability of things being able to compose by bacteria. What about alternative? Available of another means. What about banning? Is the official prohibit? What about effective solution? This is the course of action that successfully addresses a problem. What about outright? It is completely. What about the plastic bags? This is a bag made of thin, flexible plastic materials. On to my point number 1 as I inject the facts on my brothers. Implementation challenges of incentivizing recycling. As you know very well, our country lacks funds. That is why we have gone to foreign debts. That is why currently Kenya has a huge foreign debt amounting to trillions of money. Now, during the COVID, they borrowed 1.06 trillion. And the other day, they had also borrowed about 1.02 trillions. Why? Ourselves as a country, we lack funds to support this movement. And it requires a significant infrastructure and resources. Where do we remove the resources? We need machines and industries for doing these things. Take a perfect example. In Kisumu, you can name how many companies do we have for recycling? None. But instead, these plastic bottles that our judges are using, very beautiful, very wonderful, they are going to dispose them in the dustbin. And then they'll be taken to the dump site. Therefore, this becomes a very expensive means without us having resources. Kenya, like many developing countries, they face challenges in West. In 2013, we banned plastic bags and we banned using of plastic materials. But what are we doing? Exactly the opposite is what we are implementing. Therefore, brothers, I urge you to join me and agree that this thing cannot be implemented. I rest my case.
Good afternoon, and my name is Griffin Waswa from Maranda High School. Now, I am not sure where to begin, but Bona Deputy Principal, please, when you go back to school, at least ask the history teacher to enlighten the boys on something. Last time I checked, we were being injected facts, but now we're being told that we banned plastics in 2013. It was 2017. Okay, moving on, we are being told that we lack funds for implementation. That 2017, according to the NEMA, you know NEMA, the National Environmental Movement, yeah? And then we lack funds. This is funny, because if I look at the room up there, I can see people from Takataka Nimali. How much did you use to invest? Do you have the funds that run your organization? You do recycling, right? So funds are there, and organizations are actually there. We have Takataka Nimali. Oh, somebody help me read that. Now, moving on to our points. We have a circular economy brought about by recycling. Now, according to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation in 2019, they estimated that adopting circular economy principles could generate up to $4.5 trillion globally for the entire world by 2030. Now, Takataka Nimali have these things that they have written. They are about circular economy. Circular economy simply is an economy whereby products are reused, and recycled for being upgraded and being reused. So if we recycle waste, then we have unlimited resources. You agree with me, right? Yeah, me too. So when we have unlimited resources, what do we enjoy? We enjoy job opportunities because the resources are there. When resources are there, we have job opportunities. We create new jobs in the market. Now, you know, the people who collect this waste from where they're being dumped, they have a job. To taking it to the recycling industries, these people have a job. And if we're being told by Ellen MacArthur Foundation that 4.5 trillion can be generated globally if we adopt these principles, then estimating that to Kenya, then that maybe is around our 1 billion or maybe 100 billion contribution to the entire world for the 4.5 trillion. Yeah, moving on. You also spoke about funds. There's this gentleman, James Muritu. he found a way to convert plastic into oil that we import. You know what importing is? It's bringing things from outside the country. Now we import oil. So when we import oil, we spend a lot of money. The other day you saw the woman had imported oil worth 3-point-something billion. That was in KTN News. And they were arguing actually over does this oil belong to the government? Does it belong to this woman? Now, James Muritu, he was on the Standard in this year, early this year. He had found a way of converting plastic into combustible fuel, the one that is imported. So James Muritu simply serves the vehicles in his county without importing. So the funds, he gets them free from recycled plastic. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I'll stop there.
Munene Brian, the Nyambaria School, here to oppose to my own grave the motion incentivizing recycling and promoting biodegradable alternatives is a more effective solution than outright banning and banning single-use plastic bags in Kenya. Let me begin by reminding our opposers that our country loses on average in every fiscal year 600 billion Kenyan shillings to corruption. Now, if we are losing such an amount of money to corruption, where do we get money to start incentivizing this recycling? Kindly clarify. On to my first point. Take the example of the country Rwanda, which in 2008 joined many other countries of the global village in implementing in the success of plastic bag bans in a country such as Rwanda. According to a study by the University of California, the ban in Rwanda was effective due to strict enforcement and public awareness, along with personal resolve. Take again the case of biodegradable alternatives, such as the bags we use these days. These bags have their limitations. For example, they require specific conditions for decomposition. These conditions, according to Professor Henry Tajfel and his associates at the University of Bristol, they require industrial composting facilities, extended periods, under specific environmental conditions. Now, Kenya has limited waste management infrastructure, and therefore conditions may not be met. This renders biodegradable bags as ineffective. This is according to Environmental Science and Tech Publisher. And so, in a nutshell means to sum up, incentivizing recycling and promoting biodegradable alternatives is not a more effective solution than banning single-use plastic bags in Kenya. Thank you.
Well. My name is Charles Gary from Maranda School, here to strongly propose the motion and show you guys in clear black and white that incentivizing recycling and prioritizing biodegradable alternatives is a more effective solution than outright banning single use of plastic bags in Kenya. First of all, allow me to start by answering the questions asked. We owe 11 trillion, not 10. I think you guys have issues with information. And the cost, we don't really need much money. When you look at the plastic bags we normally have, there's normally a triangle showing return, reuse, or recycle. What you simply do is you can choose to reuse it, or return it back to the shop. Most people don't know that. That's why it brings this whole issue up. Realize it. It's already there. Now, my fellows have talked about the long-term sustainability of recycling, the waste management improvement, the economic benefits offered by recycling, and most importantly, the environmental impact. Allow me to add upon those that recycling is more effective. I repeat, more effective. How? Recycling significantly reduces the impact of plastic waste in the environment. According to a study done by UNEP in the year 2018, recycling 1 ton saves 5,774 kilowatts of energy, 16.3 barrels of oil, and 30 cubic yards of landfill space. The statistics don't lie. The numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie. Feel me, guys. Secondly, the adoption of biodegradable products This enables us to save a lot more. Because when the government subsidizes and encourages consumers to shift from plastics to use more biodegradable products, it leads to a change in the consumer use. They shift. And a study was done by the Taiwan Environmental Protection Administration in the year 2010, and it showed that subsidies for biodegradable tableware led to a 70% reduction in plastic use. 70%, my guys, 70. That's a very huge number for me. And to add on that, when biodegradable products are adopted, manufacturers shift to producing more biodegradable products. That means that everyone is motivated as a group to actually go green. That's the message of today. Go green. Let's go green. Let's go green. And lastly, resource conservation. Recycling conserves natural resources, reducing the need for virgin material. And a study done by United States Environmental Protection Agency showed that US recycling rate increased, and that led to a reduction in the use of plastic waste. That is the future. Thank you. My name is Gary, Charles Gary, from Maranda School.
Fadnel Makori from the Nyambaria School, here to oppose the motion incentivizing recycling and promoting biodegradable alternatives is a more effective solution than outright banning single-use plastic bags. First of all, I'd like to answer the question, which was rather irrelevant, which is asking, what do we do with non-biodegradable plastic waste? You said you gave figures, I think you gave 25,000 per day. Now, being faithful to the motion clearly states biodegradable waste. So I don't know why the opposition is bringing a question of non-biodegradable waste. But anyway, I'm forced to answer your question, which is, what to do with the already accumulated non-biodegradable organic waste. Already simple, we do incineration. And some of you may argue that incineration will cause shockwaves to the environment. Simple, we use carbon filters to reduce the environmental degradation. Haven't I answered your question? Thank you. I'd like to touch on what the third opposer say. I don't think he answered the question, which I was really eager to hear the answer to. Because the question, since Kenya is so disorganized that it can barely make its own budget, and we are all Jay-Z's, we know that. If it can barely make its own budget, where will it get the funds to do biodegradable initiatives? You still haven't answered that question. I'm sorry if I missed it, but I haven't seen an answer to that question. Let me give you why we should ban the plastic bags in Kenya. First of all, it brings economic development to Kenya. How so? Simple. When you ban the plastic bags, there are other alternatives, such as the bags that we usually use nowadays. Since the banning, which our friend helped me from 2017, we have been using some plastic bags, which have brought about employment which have brought about employment to the youth. And this has economically raised the country to greater heights. Instead of plastic bags being all around the ground in Kenya, which actually ruin the fertility of the soil and affecting the productivity of our land. And remember that agriculture is the backbone to Kenya's economy. So if we have plastic bags all around Kenya, then we are doomed. Lastly, I want to state that limited effectiveness of biodegradable products, you find that there is limited effectiveness to the products that they have stated. Why? Because, first of all, it's very expensive to do biodegradable initiative. Very, very expensive, and they've already discredited. They have not given us the source of the money to do the biodegradable initiatives. Secondly, as my friend mentioned, that they require specific conditions, such as industrial composting facilities. The first speaker was competent enough to mention that there are no facilities of biodegradable recycling in Kisumu. So, for example, he gave the example of these bottles that we have here. How are we going to use them? What are we going to do to them after they are done, they are finished with their work? It's still a puzzle. Thank you.
Thank you, Griffin Waswa, back again. So I studied my chemistry a few moments ago, and I would like to tell my friends this, that the raw materials used by plastics manufacturing industries come from fractional distillation of crude oil. So if you give them back the plastic that they had produced to recycle, then you don't really need funds to establish a recycling plant. You simply take back this plastic. Hey, here, to have back your plastic, you produce this. They use that to produce other plastics. You understand? That's recycling. Bwana Chief Principal, I thought history was the problem. Kumbe geography is too. We have shockwaves. Shockwaves cause earthquakes. They do not come from CO2 emissions. Kindly, students, get that clearly. And then we have this logo, this 3-triangle arrowed logo. It means reuse, recycle, or return. It's on almost every plastic item out there. So it means that we already have these facilities. So when you use your plastic item, return it to where you bought it. We don't need to find more funds. Now, up to that point, I thank you all for listening.
Monene Brian, back again. Now, my Bible tells me that even a fool who keeps quiet is deemed wise. In refusing to keep quiet, our opposers show us their lack of wisdom. The motion is addressing the issue of incentivizing recycling, not setting up those plants. So how do you incentivize these recycling plants? You are yet to tell us. Maybe we'll live here without even knowing. One of the greatest presidents of the United States, Donald Trump, once said that the best way to learn is OPE, other people's experience. And so, if this total ban on plastic bags has worked elsewhere, like I cited Rwanda, why not try it? Thank you.
All right, congratulations to both teams for gracing the finals. It is indeed not a mean feat. Now, the motion reads incentivizing recycling and promoting biodegradable alternatives is a more effective solution than outright banning of single-use plastic bags in Kenya. Both teams laid their arguments in a fairly strong way, so I'm going to go specific. Denzel, clear definition of terms. There was evidence of research. However, it's important for you to give us the sources, especially when you say, the job creation in South Africa. And also you link it back home to Kenya. Denzel, okay, good. The job creation in South Africa, then tie it home so that your points we can see that you're indeed bringing on board best practice. You are a passionate debater and very coherent at that. Jonathan, you spent a lot of time defining nearly each and every word, and that ate into the time to bring on board the real meat, which are the points. And then you also ignored some key term there, banning of single use. That was really, really important. But I like your stage confidence. The only thing I'd like you to work on is your time management. And then you said something about water bottles. Now the question is, are water bottles single-use plastic bags? I was looking at the relevance and linkage back to the motion. So that bit did not come out so clearly. But I like your style and presentation and your coherency of argument. Griffin, oh my, you are a grandiloquent debater, a dangerous one at that. I like your wittiness in attacking your opponents, but I want you to respect teachers in the room. Please. Attack the points. Attack the points. Because this is also, it's an intellectual engagement. So you need to attack the points. Very, very, very important. Now, you gave some very solid rebuttals. I like that. Now, when you mention James Muritu, you need to tell us who he is. And when you talk about recycling plastic, I was wondering, is it biodegradable? I was looking back to the question, back to the motion, and looking at the connection. And I felt you could have also just given us more perspectives, apart from just the Rwandan example, where other countries have succeeded in, this bit of banning and how they brought on board alternatives and all that. But As I say, there is no winner or loser. It is always a learning experience. All the best. Honchos. Oh my. Thank you.